Hi guys, and welcome back to Canada Top to Bottom. Today we're giving you 10 interesting facts about Canada, some of which we virtually guarantee you won't have heard before.
The first fact is that Canada is enormous and holds an impressive number of records related to the country's sheer size. Its border with the USA is 9,000 kilometres long, making it the longest border in the world. And in addition to that, Canada has the longest coastline of any country in the world. There is an estimated 356,000 kilometres of coastline on Earth, and more than half of it belongs to Canada, mainly due to the complex nature of the country's coastline. Canada also holds the record for having the most northerly settlement in the world, which is called Alert, and is a military base which is inhabited year-round and sits north of the 82nd degree of latitude, less than 1,000 kilometres from the North Pole. As if all of that wasn't enough, Canada has over 800,000 lakes, almost 4 times more than any other country on Earth. Finally, Canada ranks 222nd in terms of population density of countries around the world, with an average of less than 4 people for every square kilometre.
Next up, we've got the fact that Canada is still a monarchy. The country became independent in 1867, but it's still part of the British Commonwealth and as such is still officially governed by Elizabeth II, the Queen of England. Now, in reality, she has no meaningful say in Canadian affairs, but the country remains a monarchy, at least on paper. Neither of us are royalists, and honestly, it seems a bit ridiculous that the British flag still flies over any North American territory, but that's how it is. We're yet to meet a Canadian who seems to have any great affinity with the British royal family or felt in any way connected to the Commonwealth. So if there's ever a referendum on whether Canada should remain part of the Commonwealth, it would certainly be very interesting to see how the people of this country would vote.
The third interesting fact about Canada is that it has 2 official languages, English and French. And anyone serious about making it in Canadian federal politics will need to be fluent in both. Politicians gunning to be Canadian Prime Minister will have televised debates in both languages, and even for us mere mortals who don't aspire to running the country, there are still signs of bilingualism everywhere, from food packaging to road signs. That said, if you live in an English-speaking province like us here in BC, there's no need to speak French, and most people here are far from fluent, even if they do speak a bit of French. French immersion schools are popular though, and even out here, thousands of miles from the French-speaking part of Canada, many people, including us, choose to give their kids a bilingual education by sending them to French immersion schools. You can happily live with just English in BC, but not being able to speak decent French could hold you back in some careers. So we figured we tried to give our kids both languages, seeing as French immersion schools are available as part of the state-provided education system.
Fact number 4 is also language related, and it's that the name Canada is derived from the word Kanata, spelled K-A-N-A-T-A, which means village or settlement in the language of the indigenous tribe who inhabited the area around the St. Lawrence River in the 15th century. Now, the tribe was sadly wiped out during the 16th century after a series of wars with the rival Mohawk tribe who wanted to monopolise trade with the Europeans, but the name they gave to their home persists.
Speaking of European trade, fact number 5 is that the first Europeans thought to have visited Canada were the Vikings. A Norse explorer called Leif Erikson is thought to have colonised part of what is now Newfoundland around 1,000 years ago. The settlement he established didn't last long, and it would be over 400 years until Europeans came back. The very first inhabitants of North America, meanwhile, are believed to have arrived over 14,000 years ago from Siberia via the Bering Land Bridge. Many of the early tribes and societies died out, but there are still some fascinating archaeological sites, particularly in the Yukon, which provides some insight into how those first settlers lived over 10 millennia ago.
Whilst on the subject of living off the land, our 6th fact is that the beaver is Canada's national animal. We're not quite sure what this involves from a ceremonial point of view for the beavers of Canada, but there's no doubt that they played a large role in how the country was settled. The fur trade was a huge part of Canada's early history, and the place of the beaver in that history has now been recognised by the government, who have gone so far as to put a beaver on the back of the Canadian nickel coin.
So, for fact number 7, we're sticking with the theme of national symbols and naming Canada's national summer sport. Any guesses? No, it's not baseball, basketball, soccer, rugby or tennis. The answer is lacrosse. It certainly doesn't appear to be a particularly popular sport here in BC, but there you have it. Lacrosse is the national summer sport of Canada. You won't be surprised to hear that ice hockey, which borders on a national obsession, is the national winter sport.
For fact number 8, we're going to Quebec City, the only walled city in either Canada or the United States. The city is actually only the 11th largest settlement in Canada, but it's arguably the most historically important Canadian town and should be on the bucket list of any history buff.
Now, we've already mentioned Canada's education system and the option you have to educate your kids in both English and French, and fact number 9 is also related to education. Canada has been classed as the most educated country on the planet, with more than half the population holding a post-secondary qualification and 99% of Canadians being literate, a higher percentage than any other country in the world.
Our final fact is something of a brag on Canada's behalf. It can be easy to think that America steers popular culture, but did you realise just how many of Hollywood's best known stars are actually Canadian? Ryan Reynolds, Justin Bieber, Drake, Mike Myers, Jim Carrey, Keanu Reeves, Ryan Gosling, Celine Dion, Seth Rogen, Pamela Anderson, Michael J. Fox, Alanis Morissette, and many other well-known cultural figures come from north of the USA-Canadian border.
So there you have it, 10 things you may or may not have known about our adopted home. Let us know your favourite Canada-related fact in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you go. See you next time.